Yeah, this is one of those dark secrets about real estate that they're not going to tell you, but I will. Hi there. My name is Charles Ray Dawson. I'm the Associate Broker Residential Sales Manager at ProStar Realty, and this is the Unnamed Real Estate Podcast, episode 274. This is me shouting into the void. So, you guys, those of you of a certain age, and I assume most of my viewers are of a certain age, are, when you think to the past and you realize, wow, it really was better. And at some point, somebody always rolls their eyes and goes, oh, yeah, well, there's blah, 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 psychological reasons. You always remember the best things from the past and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. You know, unless you have embedded trauma, and then it's like real life every day. But, let's take airlines, all right? You used to go and buy your ticket at an airlines, and you'd walk in and you'd check in at the counter and you'd hand over your bags, and they'd hand you the little slip and whatnot. And you don't go down to gate 7. All right. And you sit around and, wait for your plane to pull up, and you'd look at it, and there'd be some, they'd let you on and they say, okay, now boarding rows 1 through 5, or you walk over and you hand them the little tag and they look at it and they make a little mark. And notice I have not mentioned TSA. I haven't not mentioned, the x-ray taking pictures of your naughty bits or anything like that. And you were just walking onto the plane and put your little, suitcase above and sit down in your seat. They had like fucking 36 inches, armrests with little freaking ashtrays on there. And, flight would take off. Captain Barry Friendly, well, thank you for flying, Pan Am Airways. We appreciate your service, Flight attendant might give up and say, give a little speech, in the case of a water, landing, you're dead. So don't bother about it. This is a DC-10. We go down all the time. All right. The good old days of flight. And then this, the stewardess, because we didn't have airline attendants back then. They were called stewardesses, In England, they were called trolley dollies. They would come by with their little carts and, give you a drink. And say, oh, by the way, here's some mixed nuts. And if you're on an overnight flight, they go, oh, and here's your food. Would you like the chicken or the fish? Don't eat the fish. All right. And you would land and go about your day. Nowadays, it's completely different. All right. You buy your ticket online, usually through Expedia or something like that, where they sit there and they try to get you the, you try to get the lowest possible deal. And next thing you know, you're flying out of Spirit Airlines or whatever. And you have to go on, Southwest, you have to go get your group boarding because they didn't assign seats in Southwest. And you do group boarding, and then you'd be sitting there, 24 hours before your flight, hitting refresh on the screen so you could hit the return button as soon as possible, going, okay, lock my flight in. I'm actually planning on being on that plane. And you'd find out you'd be like group 3. And you'd always wonder, it's like, it took me, that screen refreshed, I hit the button. It took me 4.5 seconds, and now I'm group 3 instead of group 1. What the hell? Later on, you found out that group 1 was special people. All right, because Southwest, unbeknownst to you, actually started having special people. You started having a tiered customer relationship, all right? Special people got higher priorities. And next thing you know, the other airlines and stuff started charging you for bags that weighed over 50 pounds. And next thing you know, it was like any bags at all. It's like where we're at today, where we can't have peanuts on the flight because somebody, stated that they have an allergy. And by an allergy, like they don't like the smell. Or maybe they do have an allergy. And how do these people evolve? Why has Darwin not smited them yet? All right. But you get on your little flight and stuff like that, and you sit down in Group C, and you got your, all your whole screaming 18 inches worth of space and whatnot, and the person next to you is folding over the sides of their chair and stuff like that, and the person behind you, your seat's not reclining anymore. Because we can't have this, if we don't have the seats reclined, we can pack another 3 rows in there. Remember legroom? It's gone. So you're sitting there in your little chair with your knees up around your ears and stuff like that. Some kid kicking the back of your chair, stuff like that. The steward, okay, now their airline attendant comes up and gives you this little song and dance about, in the case of water emergency, there's a flotation device underneath your seat, but you won't be able to get to it because your knees are up in your ears. All right. Da 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 da. Oh, by the way, we have overbooked the plane. We will offer travel vouchers for anybody who will surrender their seat right now. Sorry, guys, we can't leave until 3 people decide they're going to give up their seats. I've actually gotten into a bidding war with a lady like that. We'll give a travel voucher for $200, and I shout out $500. She goes, "No, sir, it's only $200." I'm like, "I'll leave here for $5." All right. She was not impressed with me. I did not get the peanuts on that flight. I didn't even get a refill on my drink. Oh, by the way, remember coffee cups? Next thing you know, they're bringing you out something like, looks like this. And it's like, "Hey, would you like a complimentary beverage?" "Why, yes," I said, I would like orange juice." "Okay, sir, here you go. There you go, right there." So here we be. That's flying. That's flying today. So some McNamaras, and I'm now using that as an adjective noun, right? Some McNamaras have decided, you know what? The airline industry is consolidated down to 3 airlines: Delta, American, and United. This is going to be natural in real estate, because once we get everything consolidated down to 3 big brokerages, we can then start giving people a more profitable level of service. So let me just use an example of a more profitable level of service. All right. So traditional brokerage has paperwork. All right. It has contracts. It has supervision. All right. It has listings. It has the ways to get those listings out in front of people. So if you're on the seller side, your brokerage is putting your property in front of other people and then negotiating on your behalf for the sale of your property that you no longer want for whatever reason to somebody who does want it. All right. And in return, they're going to negotiate for you. They're going to advise you. All right. And they're going to utilize their access to resources that you don't have in case like any repairs comes up that the buyer suddenly wants you to do. I got a guy for that. And they want to sort of reduce that down and monetize every step. So if you guys remember back in the old days when you could come in with like a trolley cart full of luggage and they would stuff it on that DC-10, which is probably the reason why half of them went down, all right, is started reduced to now you're limited to 1 roller bag and a carry-on. And you start seeing people like with carry-ons that are like freaking duffel bags, all right? Like they're getting on the cargo ship to ship out to Saipan, all right? And stuffing those things into the overheads and whatnot. And then this and then that. And now you're paying for everything. You want to check luggage? Well, that's going to be a cost. Little note to self. All right, board last. All right, go in there with your little, "There's no way in hell that's going anywhere" thing. They'll check your baggage for free. You won't have to pay the baggage cost. Just saying. Anyways, so in the brokerage with all of their expenses, okay, physical structure, windows, walls that I can hang my stuff on, solid cubicle, this soul-crushing gray. Right? All this costs money. This is overhead. All right. Well, one of the best ways when you run any company like that is try to reduce your overhead and maximize your income, your sales. More money coming in, less overhead equals profit. So real estate margins are relatively thin right now. All right. Because as the market contracts, meaning less houses are getting transacted, there are less opportunities for brokerages to make money on the sales of property. So we start looking at ways to save money over here. All right. We just switched our phone system over. All right. Switched our internet and phone system over, saved us a couple $1,000s a year. So as you do, and then once people have felt like they've gotten as consolidated as they can, well, we work in a capitalist system, the true capitalist system. And what I mean by that is that when you talk to me, I am bidding my services to you, the consumer. Meanwhile, Jamie next to me is bidding her services to you. All right. And there's going to be, this is how much Ray costs. And then there's this how much Jamie costs. All right. Now, from a pure aesthetic standpoint, go with Jamie. I met her yesterday. Like, woof, total smoke show. All right. But, all right. And she's smart. I would refer this woman out. Okay. But she's not me. Okay. She's not bitter and jaded. And that's what you guys are looking for in a real estate agent. A real estate agent is going to make a video like this. And I'm going to tell you the new wave after all these consolidations. We already talked about bundling of services, where we're going to try to get all of these neutral third parties in under our umbrella. So we're getting a little cut when we introduce you to our neutral third party, our home inspector. And that home inspector is going to do a job that makes me happy, not so much you happy. All right. Get a little cut of that. A little bit better for the bottom line, maximizing shareholder value. But you can only, there's only so much there. So these companies, just like these big airlines, are now looking at you and going, hey, why don't we charge the consumer a brokerage transaction fee? What I mean by a brokerage transaction fee is we're going to, as a condition of listing your house, charge you a certain amount. Now remember, you don't have to pay the buyer's agent anymore. You won the lawsuit. Okay, so we're not going to charge you 6% and then share half of that with a buyer's agent or any other agent who can come in with a ready, willing, and qualified buyer. All right? We're only going to charge you 3%. But we're going to tack an extra $500 broker technology fee on top of that. So now it's going to be 3% plus 500. And on our buyer side, hi, Mr. and Mrs. First-Time Buyer. Thank you for your service. I understand you're using a VA loan. Okay, and I also understand that you're missing a leg, which means you have over 10% disability, which means you're not paying any of the VA costs. This is great, but I am going to charge you a $500 technology fee. This is what they're looking at, all right? And one of the companies that we were looking at, the broker, they're what they call a 100% house, all right? 100% house, if you ever hear that, is solely 100%, that is a recruiting gimmick. The reason why Ray would want to go to 100% house is because I keep 100% of my commission, whatever that amount, I can negotiate with you, my client. It's the first negotiation in real estate. It's me versus you. Where this is what you want, this is what I'm willing to do, all right? Now we're just here in the middle trying to figure out, where we're going to be. Can we come to a meeting of the minds? So for really successful agents, I mean, I figured out the math. I know exactly how much I'd make working for a 100% house. It's generally something along the lines, HomeSmart charges $100 to each agent per month. So $1,200 to slap HomeSmart on my business card. And then there's a transaction fee to me, the agent. About $500 seems to be industry average right now. So I do 12 closings this year. All right, I got to pay an additional $6,000. All right, so now we're looking at $7,200 from Ray to the brokerage, as opposed to, let's say, 15% cut of every one of my commissions. Now, I have this conversation with my agents all the time, so I'm going to have it with you. Medium household price, all right, medium, not average price, is about $450,000. All right, so $450,000 times 3%. Okay, it's 13,500. You can check me on the calculator on that. But of the 13,500, right, if I am working for an 80-20 split, which means I'm keeping 80 of that, and I will pull out the calculator on this one. $13,500 times, wow, that did not work out. Clear? 13,500. I should really do this math beforehand. Times. So, $22,700 of that transaction is going to go to the broker. I get to keep the rest. All right? So, $2,700. Now, let's take that times that by the 12 closings. That means the broker is going to make $32,400 off of me for going out there and selling houses. That's how much an agent is worth to a brokerage. Every agent is different. Some perform less closings. Some perform less closing with higher price points. All right. So it's sort of an average. Okay. But we sit there, we calculate out the math and everything like that. And if I only needed, 32,400 or 7,200, right? That is a pretty serious difference between that's like an extra 25,200 in my pocket. Completely worth it going to a 100% house. So the way 100% houses make money is they make it up on scale. This is why I call them, the gym membership business model. Where they're making their money is they're making it off of that $100 a month off of every one of their agents. The rest of the money they're making, that franchise or the transaction fee that they've labeled in on top of it, of $500 per closing, should be high enough to cover all of their costs. The cost of that transaction, remember, paperwork, this, that, and the other thing. But that's not enough to pay for a broker. So we come in with a transaction coordinator. We strongly encourage them using a transaction coordinator, and that's another $500 per transaction. So now, it's costing me personally $1,000, but I'm still making 100% commission split. All right. So it becomes still profitable for performing agents and not so profitable for non-performing agents. So this business model has matured, and it has hit the point where brokerages, if you're Bob Smiley running a real estate brokerage and you have 1,000 agents under you, and those 1,000 agents under you are paying you $100 a month, you're clearing $100,000 a month. That's $1.2 million a year. And that should be enough to keep your lights on. Because you're not really making money. If they don't close, you make money. If they do close, you make money. All right. And in fact, if you have to bring that transaction fee down to at cost, now your margins are getting really thin. All right. So those 100% houses, I calculated out once years ago. You have to have a lot of agents, right, to pay your overhead. So, but the McNamara's come in and they see this business model, and here's a nice little business model that's making money for an individual broker, but we want to scale this. Right? So they start looking at other efficiencies, all right, and other things to how do we get more people in there? And it's these junk fees you're starting to see in. All right? They're pointing in two directions so far. All right? They're pointed at the client. Hey, client. All right? Yeah. And I've agents have already done that before. It's like, yeah, I will sell your house for 3%. My broker is going to charge you a $500 transaction fee. That transaction fee is actually that $500 that was the agent's cost. Right? And that agent, she's pushing her operating costs onto you as a broker transaction fee. Well, brokers found that out and they go, no, we want that. But they still want the transaction fee from the agent. So they're sort of double dipping now. All right. So they got it. Well, you're calling it a broker transaction fee. We're the broker. We should be able to charge our own. So now you're going to be paying that little fee. You know, the agent's charging you for their costs, and now the broker's charging you on top of that to offset their costs so they can keep the 100% business model, because they use the 100% business model to recruit. So we, in a traditional business, all right, I make widgets, I sell widgets. I sell widgets at a flat fee. My flat fee, my ticket for you to get on Dawson Airlines, all right, is I will get you from here to Austin for $250. And you will get a seat, 24 inches wide. You'll have space downstairs so we can put your luggage on. You get a little overhead bin. You can put a roller bag up there. Get a little space underneath the seat in front of you so you put your laptop or purse. $250, I'll get you in Austin 99.9% of the time. Don't ask about that 0.1% of the time. Those poor people. Anyways, so, and all of my costs, paying the pilot, paying my stewardesses, because on Dawson Airlines, we're back to stewardesses with little short skirts. The flight, the plane, if we leased it, the lease payment comes out of that, $250. All right. The gate fee that I have to pay the airport to have a gate to get people off of my plane and onto my plane, that's there. Any other stuff comes out of that $250. But for you, you're paying $250. Flat fee. Boom. Nowadays, that's pretty much simple business model. What's the service I'm providing? I'm getting you from here to Austin in relative comfort. Right? And for that $250, you get all of this on board. So the technology fee is not even just, it's not just a cost to the broker and agent. It is a efficiency, because trust me, we don't want to do paper anymore. I don't have to run out there with the piece of paper, 3 layers, press hard. You need to go through 3 layers of carbon paper. Top copies for you, second copies for the other side, third copies for my broker. Right? We don't want to have to do that anymore, so we have dot loop. Okay? So we get dot loop. Dot loop means that we don't have to buy those contracts anymore. And we don't have to pay a storage unit to store those things for the amount of time that the state makes us save those. You know, so, like I said, this is where we're at right now. With all these consolidations and stuff like that, once we get to what they call the big 3. And the reason why I use the term big 3 is because I literally saw one of these guys going, hey, we only have three big insurance companies across America now. And we have 3 big airlines across America. We're going to wind up with 3 big brokerages. Now, whether or not they're all going to be walled off little gardens and stuff like that where nobody gets, it's like if you have an Android, you can't get an app off the Apple Store. Whether or not they go that route. So it's like you drive, let's go buy ourselves a house. Well, we can go on the Ford lot and get a Ford, or we can go over to the Chevy lot and get a Chevy. Oh, look, there's Toyota. Oh, look, there's Hyundai. All right. I think there's space in there for a Tesla. I really do. I think there's a space in there for a Southwest Airlines. I think there's a space in there, even though Southwest is selling out and going commercial, for a Frontier and Alaska. Right? Spirit. Hell, we could even go JetBlue or Ryanair. Right? I think there is a space out there, but you, the consumer, need to know, all right, the different in services, the different flights. One of the things that really killed Spirit is that they went too low. Right? They had really great arrival times, by the way. All right? They got you there. They just had really shitty service. But once you were on the plane, you were getting off the plane in the destination you wanted to. Right? With really good chance that it was actually at the time that you wanted to. And where did they fall out? Well, you might not have all your luggage with you. And God help you if you had to change something up. All right. So they cut costs on customer service and it bit them in the ass. People were willing to pay more, all right, to get that higher service and have that a more comfortable flight and have, a better living experience going with a higher airline. But once those three consolidations go, and God help you, if you live in a hub, all right, if you live in a hub like Delta Airlines owns Salt Lake, all right, they're really trying to be the only show in town, right? And they can beat out the other airlines in pricing because they have more opportunities to put your butt in a chair because they have more flights going in and out. So, economy of scale, efficiencies of scale. So, what does this mean to you, the consumer? All right. More and more, all right, as things consolidate, as we go, these three players are trying to make this new business model happen. All right. They are betting on people not doing their homework. People not realizing what the real estate agent does. They have a great ally at NAR because NAR's not telling anybody that. All right. And basically just going, hey, just come on, click the button. You like that house? Click the button. Click it. Click it. Oh, yeah. Click the like and subscribe button below while you're clicking things, right? Click that button, you'll get a house. You'll overpay for it. Inspector won't find stuff on it. Escrow officer's not going to, point out a couple things. Hell, maybe, right? But you're going to have a house, and when you have a suck experience, and you go out there and go, oh my God, I had a suck experience. Everybody's going, yeah, well, that's just, buying a house sucks. Buying a house sucks, and everybody knows it. Because the 4 or 5 boomers who remember the good old days, and like 7 or 8 Generation X guys, the bitter ones at the end of the bar at the VFWs, right? Yeah, don't listen to the old cranky guys. They have no reason to be cranky. They're just old cranky guys, all right? But it was better when the stewardesses had shorter miniskirts. Just saying. Let's go over the numbers real quick, and then I got to shut this off because I have to have conversations with brokers and whatnot. Now, just for the record, I'm hoping this is still recording because my screen actually froze on me, but the little counter's going, the little light's on, so I'm assuming we're still online. So, since that's not catching up with me, I'm going to have to call an audible right here. Hold on. I'm going to give you raw numbers. Hey, you know what? I'm going to do something special today. I'm going to record the numbers separate. See you in a second. And here's the numbers for May 6, 2026. Actives this week are 25,473, down 316. Our new listings were 2,357, up 163. Contracts this week were 2,768, up 16. Our closings came to 2,343. Coming soon to an MLS near you is 662 new listings. Cromford Report numbers gives us a supply of 107.8, a demand of 89, giving us a Cromford Report number of 82.6. And looking at our individual cities and whatnot, we still see Fountain Hills at the top of the pack and up 14% month over month. Our biggest loser, it's Queen Creek, down 10%. They are now sitting at 59.1. Buckeye's still at the bottom, though, at 52.1. What else do we got? If you were looking for a deal as a buyer, I would take a look at Goodyear, Surprise, Santan Valley, Maricopa, Queen Creek, and Buckeye, especially if you're planning on being there for a couple of years. If you are sitting there in Fountain Hills, Chandler, Tempe, Phoenix, or Scottsdale, or Glendale, Gilbert, Mesa, any of those places right now, maybe even Avondale, if you were looking to sell, might not be a bad time. Your mileage may vary, of course, on everything else. So I did notice that the video at the back, the recording was frozen, so you got to see me going. That's okay. There are so many bad pictures of me out there in the universe. I don't even care anymore. But so I hope you guys had a good time watching this as I did making it. Yeah, that was a good rant. for my people who like to hear the ranting, that's it. I'm not joking about the miniskirts thing. Could get in trouble for saying that. I'm not saying we need to objectify women. All right, but if you have the legs to pull that off, sisters, go for it. It's like guys in tight t-shirts. Notice you'll never see me in a tight t-shirt. Because I'm not rocking the pecs for something like that. All right, I have to get away with sparkling wit and charming personality at the bar, which is really hard when they turn the music up too loud. Like, how am I supposed to be charming at the bar when you can't hear my brilliance? I'm just going to have to wander outside by the pool and watch the children and pets play, making sure they're not drowning. All right, can't work my circles inside, but you sure can call your mother. All right, don't drive in anything flooded. All right, you guys have a great weekend, and I'll catch you guys all next week.